Hello everybody and welcome to my Iron Man 3 review. Okay, this Iron Man 3 review has heavy spoilers in it, so if you don't want spoilers, don't watch this review. That's all I'm gonna say. So, before I give pros and cons of the movie, I'm just gonna do a quick rundown of it. And the quick rundown is that Iron Man, or Tony Stark, is suffering from post-traumatic stress. And this is really affecting his life. He can't get sleep, and it's really the main driving point of Tony Stark's character throughout the movie. The Mandarin is our supposed main villain, and he just sits behind a screen and he directs um, enemy. He directs all the hate and attention from the terrorist attacks that are supposedly being happened by him. But it turns out that he's just a washed up druggy actor. That's all there really is in the Mandarin. The Mandarin doesn't exist. Which was really, really horrible to see. But whatever. And then, so Iron Man has to save the President and the United States from Guy Pearce, who wants to destroy the world. Well, no, not the world, the United States. Because fat cats aren't thrown in jail often enough. That is the basic rundown of the movie. So now I am going to go into what I liked about the movie and what I didn't like about the movie. Now, some things that I did like about the movie was the whole post-traumatic stress bit with Tony Stark. It really gave a sense of humanity to Tony Stark that not a lot of heroes get treatment for. And I think that was a nice touch to it. It really was. Also, the action scenes were cool. But that's all the positives I can think of for the movie. Post-traumatic stress and action scenes. The things I didn't like about the movie was the story, the villains, and the Iron Man. So let's just go first thing with Iron Man. One thing I really, really didn't like about the movie was how the Iron Man suits were just so weak, so vulnerable. I mean, I know that it's supposed to, like, show that Tony Stark is really weak and vulnerable at this point, so that's why all the Iron Man suits are like that. But still, it just seems like if a leaf touches one of those Iron Man suits, it's gonna fall over and break into a million pieces. So I don't really know what was up with that. It seemed like, okay, the part right after Iron Man saves everyone from the airplane fall. First off, when he drops everyone in the sea, everyone should have been skipping on the water like a bunch of skipping stones. There is no way that that momentum just disappeared with that 90-degree curve. If anything, he just killed them when he could have saved them by gradually slowing down instead of just dropping them and have them skip like skipping stones. But no, instead they fall into the water as if they're perfectly fine. Whatever. The part that I'm talking about is when the Iron Man suit goes around, he goes onto the highway and he gets hit by a semi-truck. It's just supposed to be like a jump scare. Um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, it was supposed to be like a jump scare. That when we found out that Tony Stark was really just controlling it from the speedboat. But, dude, those Iron Man suits have been through a lot more than just getting hit by a semi-truck. And they stayed perfectly well together. I mean, in that movie, one of those Iron Man suits went through so much more in the last act than that, and still stayed fine. So, I mean, it seemed like whenever someone wasn't in the Iron Man suit, the Iron Man suits were just way too fragile. And I guess the logic behind this is that the human body keeps the Iron Man suit from falling apart. But really, it wouldn't. I mean, if we wanted to take as a benchmark that if the Iron Man suit gets hit by a semi truck and breaks into a million pieces, then earlier in the movie, when Tony Stark falls onto the pad of ice in the middle of Tennessee, his arm should have been 50 feet from where the rest of his body was. His legs should have been like flying in the middle of the air. I mean, like, his body parts should be separated from all the impacts that he takes in that suit. If the suit just falls apart like candy. Like candy. Like candy. So, yeah. Also, when did he have the time to make so many Iron Man suits? And why in the last act is he throwing away Iron Man suits? Like they're worth 5 cents or something. But I'll talk about that later, a little bit later, when I talk about the villains. Anyway, yeah, so let's talk about the villains here. The Mandarin. The Mandarin is the main reason this movie gets so much hate, and I personally see why, and I agree with it. The thing that they did to the Mandarin, making him just an actor instead of what the Mandarin's supposed to be, that was so stupid of them. It really was. I mean, why do that to an iconic Iron Man villain? Just totally disrespect that character like that. Good job, writing team, whoever you are. Stepping away from the Mandarin, let's get to our bunch of henchmen. Well, we should really talk about Guy Pearce before we get to the henchmen, so let's talk about Guy Pearce. So, Guy Pearce's shtick is that he can manipulate the he can manipulate the brain to make the body have special abilities. First off, I don't think that that's how genetics work. I mean, it's not like there's an empty slot in your brain, you fill it with lava DNA, and then all of a sudden you get people who can, like, walk around and spit fire out of their mouths. I mean, what were those people even supposed to be? I mean, I thought that they were lava people, and so I was like, so in contrast, for messing with the DNA of a person, then that would really, that would really weaken their bodies and make their bones a lot weaker and more squishy, because presumably they're made out of lava, because that's, unless I'm proven otherwise, that's what it looked like in the movie. I mean, they were spitting out fire out of their mouths. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's what they were supposed to be, like lava people. So why weren't they like fluttering around on the ground and being like a pile of goo, like there really would be if you wouldn't mess with genetics like that? You would not be able to regrow limbs on a whim. I mean, yeah, I am judging a comic book on the science of real life. But that's what the Iron Man movies have done so differently than all the other Avengers movies. They've had a ground reality into it. But Iron Man 3 doesn't have that ground reality to it. It's just flippy floppy and it goes all over the place. Anyway, on top of that, like I said, with them being lava people, they really shouldn't have like the strength of 1,000 men and be able to like punch Iron Man suits off people. But with how flimsy the Iron Man suits in this film are, I wouldn't be surprised if a baby can punch them off of a person. So yeah, I think that covered the henchmen for why I think that they're horrible. But let's go back to Guy Pearce Guy Pearce, you could have done something interesting with his motivation instead of just that rich people are rich and therefore they must be evil. I mean, really? Really? I mean, I would say that I'm on the right side of the fence, like the right as opposed to right and left when it comes to politics. So seeing a movie where the only explanation for the villain is that rich people are rich and they aren't punished for being rich, that just sort of like put me at the state where I'm like, this is one of the worst villains I've seen in a while. And from reading the Naruto manga and seeing Obito, who's really bad villain as it is, that's saying something, Guy Pearce. You made a villain worse than Obito. And if you guys have no idea who Obito is, thank God. It screams at the outside world you don't know who Obito is, because you deserve it. Now, the last thing I didn't like was the plot. And I'm pretty sure I covered the things I didn't like with the plot with the whole Mandarin situation and Guy Pearce's character. So I've already really covered that. My final score for the movie is that this is the first movie. You have to understand, this is the first movie of the Avengers Phase 2. This is the first movie that features an Avengers character from Marvel after the Avengers came out. This had to be a good movie, but it wasn't. This isn't looking very good for the future of Marvel movies, especially if they're going to be like this one. And now that we've heard that Thor 2 is going to be more like Iron Man, let's hope that they were talking about Iron Man 1 as opposed to Iron Man 3. Because if it's like Iron Man 3, then Thor 2 is not going to be a very great movie. Nor is Captain America 2. Alright. Final score. I don't really have a scoring system. My last review that I did, I just said I would recommend it to people who like blah 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 blah. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I recommend this film to casual watchers, excluding hardcore fans. Now, this seems like a very odd thing to say, because usually when you say, oh yeah, this is good for a casual audience, half the time that means it's also good for the hardcore fans. Because it's a good movie that the casual audience can get in, and the hardcore people are just gonna be like, oh, this is perfect. But really, this is only a movie for the casual audience who doesn't care about the Iron Man lore, the comic book Iron Man lore, and just wants to see another Iron Man movie. So, recommendation, this is for a casual audience who isn't already invested into the Iron Man lore. And really concludes my review of Iron Man 3, although I will say that clip at the end where, you know, where the Hulk is sitting down with Iron Man, and Iron Man is telling him this whole story, like, that's what the narration was, him talking to him, and Hulk is, like, sitting up and goes, oh, I haven't been listening to you this entire time. I lost you at the elevator in Switzerland. Can you do that again? I thought that was good. Anyway, peace out.